Hello, friends, and welcome to Careers Talk. Friends, if you're looking for some practical hands-on advice with lot of examples on matrices, then this session is for you. Friends, today I'm glad that Parusharam is joining us. He already done one session with us in the past on comparison, and link of that session is in the description box. So if you want, you can check that session as well. About Parshuram, he's a passionate agilist working closely with large organizations, and today is going to give us a session on important topic, that is Scrum Masters measure what matters. It's a very interesting topic. Okay. So before we start, if you are new to our channel, please considering subscribing, as you will find lot of information with respect to Agile Scrum, and don't forget to hit like button. Your one like is a big motivation for all of our team members. So friends, with this thought, welcome Parashram and thanks for giving your time today. Parshu.
All right. Thank you very much, Sunand. It has been a privilege to come back again and talk in the channel. And thank you all the subscribers and viewers who have showed a lot of motivation to
Yeah,
me and their valuable comments for the previous video. If you have not looked at it, please take a look and share your thoughts and comments. I'm happy to learn. Having said
definitely.
that, let us go ahead and I want to share my experience about metrics. Okay, let me share my screen.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, yes, I can see.
All right. All right. The topic for today is Scrum Masters. Scrum Masters measure what matters. Right. I repeat it. It is Scrum Masters measure what matters. Why I have emphasized on this topic is there is lot of buzz about metrics. Hey, what do I have to measure? Do I have to measure this? Do I have to measure that? What is the real metric that is useful for our organization, or that is useful as a Scrum Master to me? So these are the plethora of questions I get. And at the same time, in my experience and journey, I have learned few metrics that are really useful in different stages of a particular team's life cycle. So in this, I have got you 10 different metrics that is going to help you, and we together will learn about all these 10 metrics. Okay, shall we go ahead? Before I jump on about talking about each of these metrics, let me give a quick introduction about myself. I am Parshuram, a very hungry to learn and explore person. Most of the time a social person. When I am not being social, I am working on myself, right? That's the silo time, or that's a me time I usually have. Mostly humble. Sometimes my hunger to learn showcases me as a not humble person, but you have to bear with me. My career journey has been like this. I was a full stack developer, I have elevated to a lead and architect, and then I have become a scrum master. And then finally, currently, I should not say finally, currently, I landed in agile coach role. As part of my job, I teach, mentor, facilitate, and coach development teams, scrum masters, product owners, managers, and senior managers. And my passion project is creating opportunities to collaborate, learn, and share through Agile Network India. We'll talk more about Agile Network India in a separate topic, or you can DM me on LinkedIn to talk about Agile Network India. That is my passion project. I am the voluntary leader for Chennai chapter, so I am developing it. Yep. Going ahead. This is what Seth Godin says about metrics. A useful metric is both accurate in that it measures what it says it measures and aligned with your goals. Don't measure anything unless the data helps you make a better decision or change your actions. I 100% believe in this. Do not measure anything just for the sake of measuring it. If any measurement that is not helping you derive actions or make better decisions, don't waste your time measuring it. I mean it a lot, right? I don't measure for the sake of measuring. I don't measure just that my leader is telling to measure. So understand why and how that metric is going to help you in your decision making, and how that measurement or metric helps you in changing your actions. Let me give you an example. This is a picture taken today after my walk. I just give a background story before I talk about the metric. The background story is this. In the recent times, when I say in the past 6 months, I see an evolution in the coconut water selling market. Usually, one coconut is individually sold. However, in the past 6 months, this market has evolved in a space where people sell, or the vendors sell, 1 liter of coconut. And the pricing, it was earlier, it was ranging from 100 to 120 per liter, whereas now it has reached to 60 to 70 per liter. I'm not going to talk about the pricing. However, I'm going to talk about the innovation. In the left hand side of on the left hand side photo, this one, you see a bottle holder. Maybe a couple of months back, none of the vendors had this bottle holder. What they used to do was hold it in one hand and then pour coconut water using the other hand. What I have constantly observed is either the coconut water spills out, or the bottle just topples and all the coconut water is, lost. I was just interacting with a few of the coconut vendors. What they said is like, at least 1 to 2 liters of coconut water was constantly being lost per vendor. That means for their rate of selling, it is about 300 rupees per day was a loss for them. Then they needed a bottle holder that had driven an innovation, right? The loss has driven an innovation to have a bottle holder in all the coconut vendor shops, where they have welded a circle as a bottle holder. Look at this. Very, very small scale businessman. He had one metric to drive innovation, to drive, how the way to change the way of working, right? In this talk, we are going to talk about how relevant is our metrics in our day-to-day activities in the software industry. I re-emphasize, any metric that you measure should help you take actions. It should not waste time to measure something for the sake of measuring. I'll go to a next example. I am a F1 fan. I should say hardcore. Why I say, till 2010, I was following I don't remember the dates, but years. But till Mick Schumacher was driving, Michael Schumacher was driving, I was constantly watching F1 or following F1 through the Hindu newspapers. I never used to watch, but I used to follow through Hindu newspapers. However, during the pandemic, my brother had introduced back to me saying, hey, F1 is still running, man. Why not we watch? From then, I constantly started watching. This is a very important graph or metric that I have observed. The Red Bull team's pit stop. Pit stop is a place, drivers come in, or the fast cars come in to change their tires and then go out. To change the tires, the average time taken in 2020 was 2.36 seconds, whereas currently in 2021 and 2022, the average time taken is 1.98 seconds. Look at the improvement. It may be not, it's just 0.4 seconds. However, that really adds up to their winning criteria. 2020, Red Bull were not champions, whereas in 2021 and 2022, they are the world champions of Formula One. Right? Look at the metrics that they're taking. If you go deep, they have metrics in terms of how fast a car travels in a curve. Right? We're not going to talk about F1, right? But I'm giving you a different dimension of how metrics are being useful. All right, let's go deep dive now into the software era. The first metric which I want to talk about is WIP and WIP limit. Okay, before I touch upon WIP and WIP limit, I observe there is a constant pushback of showcasing what we are working. We are making it visible what we are working. I'm a firm believer as well as an advocate for make your work visible, right? Whatever work you do, that should be on the Jira board. Okay, why should we have this, right? That actually gives first the person and the team and the decision makers what is really going on with the team, right? That is a very, very important metric to showcase what you are currently working on, right? And also to ensure in the backlog, whatever item that is going to come, that is there, right? All the items that you are going to plan, that you are working should be there on the board. So that itself is a metric. That, having said that, I go deep into WIP. What WIP? WIP stands for work in progress. What work in progress? We all understand, right? What is the item which is currently in progress? We all do knowledge work. Knowledge work is nothing but we code. No, that doesn't show something. There is nothing that is half built or 75% built. So how do we make that visible? Through our Jira cards or any other project management tool that we use. Whereas I consider now as Jira as an example, we create a Jira card and put it in progress, and that shows work in progress, right? And then for that, there is something called work in progress limit. What is it? Work in progress limit. Work in progress limit is the maximum limit amount of work that can exist in each status of workflow. Now, I currently limit into in progress itself, work in progress. It is a limit that a team sets for itself. Maximum so much work in progress only can be there for my particular team, right? So why should we limit the work in progress? Okay, I'm not going to go deep in talking about why we should limit work in progress. In the description, I'm going to give you a link to the video, the utilization trap. You understand why we should have a WIP limit, and then that'll give you more example. But I'm going to more focus on how do you set it, right? Quickly, let me take you to a test dashboard. What I have. This is your Jira board. In this Jira board, I have already created and set this board for maximum 3 stories or 3 tasks or 3 issues can exist in the work in progress, right? When there are 2, it is all good. The minute you have 4 items in this shows this changes into a different color. What it means is like you are taking more load than that is expected or that you have committed. This is what is work in progress limit is. Okay. So how do you set it? Let me quickly go through this one. Right. Just give me a second. There's a network issue. I'll show you how do we set up this. Just oops. Sorry, just bear with me. I'm going to configure board. When you configure the board, you will see the three or the swim lanes that we have to usually that doesn't happen, but my Jira is loading forever. Okay, it's loaded. So here you see I can set how many ever items that are needed to set work in progress. So here I have changed it into max 2 items only my team can have as part of work in progress. I save changes at the top. Then I go back to project. So now when I have 2, so it says, hey, no, you cannot have more items there. So immediately that is an alarm sign. Hey, you are taking more than your capacity. Why not you take out few, right? Or you have to reprioritize things. That is an alarm. That is a visualization that we get, right? So that is about WIP, right? That's, that's what WIP or work in progress limit means. So I'll just give a set way to that, why WIP limit is more important. This is why, right? For me, these are the two things WIP limit encourages. When I have a WIP limit, I just focus on the items that are in progress. I don't multitask, right? To encourage that I focus on only one item at a time. That is why I have WIP limit. If you do not have my WIP limit, I can take multiple items into WIP and I can just juggle between multiple items, just juggle between multiple items and context switch, but do not complete anything. I strongly encourage WIP limit you have to keep. I'll tell you in my personal example where I use WIP limit is at a epic Kanban board, where no more than 2 epics should be in progress. If there is a third epic that is coming in, there is an alarm, as I showed in the previous box, saying, hey, you are taking one more epic where you are going to have a lot of context switching, or you are going to lose focus, or you really want to take the decision, right? Then immediately we kind of play around the reprioritization, take out the lowest priority thing, and we still stick to 2 epics at a time, right? To increase focus, WIP and visualizing WIP and setting the WIP limit is more important. Let me go ahead. Lead and cycle time. Okay, so what is lead time? Lead time is the time measured from the moment a client puts in an order to when the final product gets delivered. It is simple. I'll tell in a very simple terms, right? A lead time is a feature that is entered into your project management tool till that is finally delivered to the customer who had asked for it. That is lead time. Okay, what is cycle time? Cycle time is when the actual work starts till the delivery. That's a very compact difference between lead and cycle time. You might have a question like, hey, why do I have to measure lead time or cycle time? So my personal opinion on measuring lead time and cycle time is, I know how much time does it take for any feature that is go to production from ideation phase? Okay. When I know that if it is taking so much time, that actually triggers me, or I ask this question to the people, hey, why is this taking so long? How can we improve it for a lesser time, say half of the time? Then that creates, or that encourages people to talk about what are the challenges in the system, and also that drives innovation. Okay, I'll tell you a quick example where it had driven innovation. In one of our projects, where we were constantly reviewing, the cycle time was always 4 weeks for every feature. 2 sprints passed by, it's like it's 4 weeks, right? In fact, 2 months passed by. We constantly observed, hey, any feature that comes in, why is it taking 2 weeks? What is the bottleneck? People said, hey, the testing time is taking, or if we have to build that, it is taking a lot of time. Then as a retrospective comment, hey, how could we improve the build? Then one particular developer came up with an innovation where 5 hours of build time he reduced into just 3 minutes. That had eventually went and saved us 2 weeks of time in the future, because every time he builds, it was taking 5 hours. However, after this, it was just 3 minutes, right? Every change he used to do, he used to build immediately and get it through tested. So the feature delivery time got reduced. Okay. Here, if we have to go deep into cycle time and lead time, there is something called wait time, which measures all the wait states within your system, how much time it takes in each wait state. For example, code review in my case was a wait state. Waiting for testing, dev done, QA testing is not started, that is a wait time. QA done, but deployment is not done, that is in the wait state. So we can also measure wait state, but I don't have a mechanism to show you how do we measure wait states directly through Jira, but you have to do a lot of homework, but we are not going to deep dive into it. But cycle time and lead time, I have an example to showcase just in an Excel sheet. Yeah. So this is feature 1.1. I say this is a closed feature which started, or which came into the system on 16th November 2021, and it was closed, that is like resolved, on 28th November 2021. I mean, here resolved meaning it is released into production. So, and the dev start time is 22 November 2021. My simple calculation for lead and cycle time is resolved time subtracted by created time gives the lead time. Resolve time subtracted with dev start time gives the cycle time. Very simple example, very simple calculation. For wait times, only thing you have to go ahead and do is I open this Jira with all the history in it. So here there is a status change update, right? To do to in progress. So now, for example, I make it to do to done. I don't have a wait state to do, but for example, there is a to do to blog state. So now you have to measure how long this was there on the blog state. You have to use it in Excel sheet and do. However, I have used a couple of tools. I'm not promoting these tools, but I have used a tool called Nave and also a tool called TaskTop. Directly gets this information for wait time into my product. But I don't have authority to showcase those tools here because those were internally managed. So that is why I'm just giving an example to you. Okay. However, lead and cycle time can be directly measured through this Excel sheet example. Okay. I'll take a pause here. Sunand, do you have any questions so far? We
No,
passed
nothing.
like 20-25 minutes mark.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Good. All right. We'll talk about throughput. Throughput. All right. So the next thing is throughput. Throughput refers to the performance of tasks by computing service or device over a specific period. It measures the amount of completed work against time consumed. If I put it, even in simple terms, in a 1 month period of time, how many items have you delivered? This is what is throughput is. For example, in a month, how many items you have released? Over a period of 5 months, what is the average number of items that you have released to production? Right? So that is what throughput talks about. So even for this, I have a simple mathematical calculation. So the sheet is with us, so we can always look into it. So what I've done, I have captured 100 different features and bugs in my system. What I have done is I have taken the created and resolved date. Using the resolved date, right? The resolved date, I took the month of it. And then in the throughput calculation, I took a count of each issues went out in each month, right? So my average is 29 issues per month was the average rate of or 29 issues is the throughput for this particular sample data. Okay, so in August we did 36, November we did 20, October we did 27, September 33. However, last quarter on an average, the team was able to deploy or release 29 items to production. That is what this throughput talks about. Okay, so with this, I'm going to the next metric, that is mean time to resolution.
Before you go,
yeah,
Parshu, I just a small thing. So,
yeah,
friends, whoever is watching this session, if you need that particular Excel sheet, you need to put your email ID in the comment section, and then I will forward you that Excel sheet which Parshu just showed. So it can be useful in your project as well. So just in case, yeah, Parshu, sorry, go ahead.
Brilliant, no problem. Thank you very much, Sunan, for that. In fact, the next item we are going to talk about is the mean time to resolution. So this one is specific for sustenance type of metrics, where we wanted to know, how are we adhering to the SLAs, right? Every organization has an SLA for P1, P2, P3, P4, right? And how soon are we delivering? So even here at a quarterly level, we come up with a metric to understand how faster we have delivered or resolved a particular P1 or a particular type of a bug, P1, P2, P3, and P4. Even for that, I use the same data in which I have taken the time to resolved date minus the created date gives me the time to resolve. And with that, I create a mean, right? The average of, I do a pivot in this where I showcase how many days P1 has taken, how many days P2 has taken, how many days P3, how many days P4. It is simple pivot example. I take this graph, I take this data, I use the pivot table feature in Excel, and I just pivoted using the priority and the average. So it gives me average time to resolve, that is mean time to resolve a particular bug. Right? Now that leads to our next interesting one, average age of open items. So
Can you
this
do
is,
F5? Sorry, can you do F5?
yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So that will lead us to the next one called average age of open items. So this is a very simple calculation again. How many items are there on an average? Sorry, what is the average age of them? So for example, I have like say 10 items open. So it shows me on an average how long it has been in this state, or how long this has been there in our system. In a worst case scenario, I have some data within the sheet where it says there is a P2 bug which is there which is like on an average 100 days old, and there are few P3 bugs on an average which is 67 days old. Right? I'm not commenting upon is it a good metric or a bad metric, but it is a metric. As soon as I look at the metric, I really go back and see, hey, what is that P2? If P2's SLA is, less, it's a week or less than 2 weeks, why is it waiting for 100 days? That actually drives an immediate action to me saying, hey, it must be either P3 or this should be given to the customer, right? What is the action that is waiting? So that is the thought or action this particular metric derives. Okay, but even for so many days, if someone is not really looking at it, there is a reason behind it. Okay, we have to identify the root cause for it. All right, I'm not going to show the calculation. This sheet is again, this is a simple calculation. It is like based on the number of days it is existing in the system, we go and take an average of it. Then, very important thing. This is with respect to the release aspect. What we have seen earlier is we spoke about what is the development metrics that we can measure. We can talk about how long it will take for the different phases, like from inception to delivery. We spoke about defects, average age of defects, and mean time to resolution of different category of defects. This is an important one specific to the release. Okay, so this directly a snapshot from the release dashboard, where this actually given our leadership a picture. Hey, this team is actually releasing code to production every month. See, there is no release train or anything. We just release on demand. However, even the release on demand goes every month. That means we are creating code, deployable code once in 2 sprints, right? What is the action this has driven, right? For us, the first reaction we got was we patted on our backs because nobody knew that this particular team was so operationally good that it is really generating code that is deployable every 2 weeks or every 2 sprints. Because there's no one was measuring anything, right? So they don't know what's really happening, how frequently we deliver. No. However, this view, where very simple thing we did, right? Any bug or any feature that comes into sprint, we have a release version to it. That is called, in Jira terms, we call it as fix version. Before the sprint start or every month, there is already a release which is created stating product name and release number. Okay, that release actually goes in as the fix version input. So now it is every time there is a set of items that is getting done, that release is ready to go to production. So like that, here from March, we started tracking this particular metric. So at the end of November, right, you see almost every month we have a release going out. Okay, now I can use this to understand and improvise what is needed to make it every sprint, right? That is the action it is driving us. So that is what is the discussion we are having. Hey, how can we improvise this? All right. The next one, bugs per release. When we created that particular metric, we also created this to understand. So there was a claim on a particular team. Hey, does this team really test? Right? Nobody knew because there was no metric that is being done. Right? Why nobody knew? Because there is no metric that is being tested, that is being used, but the team knows the test cases are executed. But whenever there is a bug that comes in, there is no backtracking of which release this particular thing had triggered, right? However, when the releases were made, we have created a dashboard in Jira to showcase This is a simple Jira query. Unfortunately, I'm not able to use that, but I can share a sample Jira query for this. How do we got it? It is, again, what we do is whenever a new bug is coming in, after the bug is triaged, we actually we actually put an affected version. So affected version meaning from which version this bug was released to production, right? So as soon as that goes, this particular report populates, okay, this bug was released into production on so and so version. So this is how it is. So now we have to go back and see what was the miss. That is a very good retrospective point for us to understand, hey boss, okay, in this release, this is what we did wrong. We can, in the next release, we have to correct it. Or in the future releases, we have to correct it. One such example was, we released a part of code where we thought the relevant data we had in our lower environment, and it was released into production, but in production, it bombed. Okay. Then we realized, okay, we have to get that data from the next release. We have to get the data back into the lower environments, test it thoroughly, and through it. Okay. See, we are failing fast, and we have a metric to show that, and then we are going back and correcting it. Okay. So when we talk about transparency, inspection, and adoption, so this metric is a key factor to help you inspect and adapt. This forces transparency. This encourages transparency. Once again, how am I populating this? By using the affected version column in Jira. All right. The next and the last one, velocity and average number of scope creep. So we all know how do we calculate velocity in terms of in a particular sprint report. However, I have created an Excel sheet for this. So where I capture this data extensively. What do I capture? I capture number of stories from the previous sprint. Also planned number of stories in the sprint. Total planned number of stories, that is the combination of D and E. And then I also capture number of stories added mid-sprint. Okay. Then I also capture number of stories removed mid-sprint. Okay. Because I'm really looking at, hey, how much of scope creep is happening? How much of reprioritization is happening within the sprints, right? That actually takes care of. And then we also capture completed number of stories. These are all number of stories perspective. Then we have metrics which talks about story points, right? These drive the velocity. So velocity, we all know average of the last 3 sprints. Average story points delivered in the last 3 sprints is our velocity. So now here it is 5. Here it is average of these 2. Here the average of 1, 2, 3. The metric or the formula is already populated here. So here, if you see, the velocity was 5, 15, 19. So I'm a line graph person. What I have done is I have plotted this exactly here in terms of what is my planned number of stories, that is say, and what is my completed number of stories, that is do. In this graph, I visually see what is my say do ratio and also how my velocity graph is really improving. Okay, so I'm repeating, in this particular graph, I am seeing what is my say do ratio and also how my velocity graph is improving. This is the data which I have captured for about 8 sprints that has been here. Okay, I have not taken the team name, what does this team do, everything, but this is how it went. And then I spoke about scope creep. All the scope creep related, total number of planned number of stories, completed number of stories, and the graph, the line graph that shows is the scope creep. How many items each sprint that is getting added? You see, the peak was 5 here, and then it was brought into the retro. It actually dipped, and again it was 5 here, and then it was brought into the retro. Then it was dipped, and then here. So all these points actually given us, hey, boy, we are not in the right direction. There is something in the process that is problematic. We have to go and fix. So these are all, I would say, that's a good word. Torch bearer. These metrics help as a torch bearer for us to course correct our actions. Okay, and I'll tell you most important thing here. All these metrics have to be put with a lot of openness and courage. Okay, and if we do not do that, these metrics would be misleading. You have to put, because this is in our control. Okay, to showcase to the management, if we try to morph this, we are not going to get the results. I'm being very transparent, right? If we, because this is in our control, we can do whatever we want. However, if you want results, if you are really want to look back at what is the problem, you want to retrospect on where the problem exists and how do you want to solve it, you have to have this data entered with a lot of transparency. That is the only request I have. However, I can share this sheet also. This is a very extensive sheet at a team level. You change anything here, the graph change. Okay, that is the beauty of it. In fact, I have hidden here during the retro and after the retro, we actually take down points why say-do ratio was this way, why a particular graph went down or went up. All the data can be captured in one place. There is one place to view about a particular team. That is the power of this particular report. Okay.
Excellent.
With that note,
Ashu, do not close
yeah.
this. I have a
Yes,
small
please.
query. Can you go to back to that?
Yeah.
I can see one more tab, team health assessment. Can
Okay.
you can you also tell us about this?
Okay. Good. That is a bonus thing. Yeah, that's a bonus thing. Thank you. Right. All right. Brilliant. Hey, this is a very interesting thing, right? There are multiple assessments that are available online. However, I was always curious in terms of, hey, those are all there, but those range from 0 to 1 or extreme to, no, we are not doing to, we are extremely doing it, things like that. Hey, that's all there, but I want to know each team, does they take this action or not? For example, we go to daily scrum. Does the team have daily scrum? Yes or no? Binary. I don't want that range answer. Okay. I want, it's not gray, it's black and white. That's what I feel. Then team can identify and clear bottlenecks. So that is an assessment. So like this is in a grooming phase. First, I had made a dump of about 35 to 40 statements like this in terms of team operations, daily scrum, review, planning, refinement, retrospective, release process, quality, documentation, and metrics. I have touched 9 dimensions of our product development and delivery, and then created this. I want to groom this further and make it even more lesser so that teams can directly use it and see, hey, this is X, Y, Z we are doing. A, B, C we are not doing. Okay. And then take a call. Doing that, is that useful or not? Okay. It is just a metric. Okay. I also call this as a metric to see or give a thought about it, because most of us do not do something it is not ignorance, lack of awareness as well. Most of the times, right? For example, team maintaining technical documentation, right? People just go by the value, right? Working software over comprehensive documentation. It doesn't say do not document. It just the value, the manifesto just says, hey, have enough documentation, or it doesn't talk about it. Working software is important, but it doesn't say documentation is not important. Documentation is also important, right? So you have to take a call. What is really important? So in those areas, I have added these phrases. So that is what team health assessment is. But this is in very much work in progress, I would say. Maybe for a later place where we, I take help of Sunand and other my colleagues and make it even more comprehensive, then it is a good tool that we all can use. Right? Yeah. That's about it, Sunand.
Thanks. Thanks, Varshu. I think I personally believe that this session is going to be really benefit for a lot of people, especially a new Scrum Masters, because the way you have shown in Jira and in this Excel sheet. So this is the thing which they can actually do themselves. So that's really
Yep.
wonderful, Parshu, because a lot of information is available on matrices, but then somehow that what part is there, but then how part is missing. So I
Yep.
think this session is going to fill that gap. And of course, we will have more session with you, Parshu, in future. We're not going to leave you like that.
Of course, Sunand. Of course.
So that's the thing. Yeah, thanks a lot, Parshu. I think this is a more than I think now 40 to 60-minute session. This is a pretty extensive session. And I would say that's pretty good. All I think 9, 10 matrices which we have covered are the very basic one, and the people should know about all those matrices as a Scrum Master. And we have to try to implement those and get the benefit of those matrices. One last thing is, friends, matrices are always used in group. Do not just pinpoint one, just take one matrices and just go about it. And as Parshu also mentioned, try to find the why, like why we are using this matrices. If you are joining new organizations, sometimes there are certain reports which people are using from years and years, and they don't know like why they are using those reports or matrices, right?
Absolutely.
So always ask your previous Scrum Masters or your managers, like, okay, what's the purpose? Who's going to use it? Whether my team is going to use it or some higher management is going to use it, what's the purpose of all these matrices which we are gathering, right? So matrices is a huge, huge topic in itself. Even
Exactly.
the 2 days will be less if
Yeah,
we
yeah.
continue like this. But then, yeah, we'll try to give you a gist of it. And I think that's really good. Wonderful, Parshu. Great work.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Sunand. In fact, we can talk in length about OKRs, and some other metrics in this fashion. But however, if that is not really being used or useful for you, then that doesn't make sense. For
Absolutely.
me, these are the different dimensional metrics that I encourage people to use. So that is why I created this sheet and a sample Jira to showcase this and make best use of this, guys. And thank you so much for listening in length. You can fast forward it if I have spoken slow. Right?
That's okay.
Yeah. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. See you in the next session. Thanks,
Thank
Parshu.
you. Thanks, Sunil.